All right, we're gonna make some onion soup, French onion soup, and it requires a lot of onions. I mean, like almost 5 pounds, but I like to mix them up. So I used 1 shallot. I used 3 of the sweet Vidalia onions, and then I used 5 of the regular yellow onions, and I also had a white onion, and I just chopped those up. And right now I have some butter melting, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of my chopped up onions, and I'm just going to put these in here on a medium to low fire. And let that saute. Now this takes a long time. This is the longest part of the whole thing. You know, so get ready to do this. It's sort of like making a roux, but you're going to definitely need to have some patience with this, because you want to cook them slow, because you want them to brown and caramelize really nicely. And you can see I've got a lot of onions in here, because I really want this thing to be primarily onions and seasoning, and not, you know, just all of the broth. Okay, so the onions are going to make the broth. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and speed this up a little bit and pick it up from browning. So next I'm gonna raise my onions up, the fire under that, to about medium, so that it can, you know, kind of quicken up the cooking here. But also I'm gonna put in the pot with the onions, some bay leaf, sprig of thyme here. I'm using a sprig and a half because I got a lot of onions. And I'm also going to put in some of this onion so that that can go in and look pretty good. So this is going to flavor our onions. You also can do your salt and pepper. I'm going to just use regular black pepper. You can use white pepper if you want, but I'm using black because I'm going to be using red wine, and so this will be a dark broth, and so it won't matter. And I'm also going to use some pink Himalayan salt as well. Okay, now of course I'm going to just lightly salt and lightly pepper this because I'm going to add it as the onions cook down, because I want to make sure my flavor isn't too salty or isn't too peppery. So I'm going to add that in stages. But I'm going to just cook this down until the onions get caramelized. Alright, so while our onions are continually caramelized, it smells so good, I wish you could smell it. We're going to get our cheese and our baguette ready for the crouton that goes on top of our French onion soup when you serve it. We're going to be using 2 different cheeses today, the Emmy Appenzeller Swiss, and I'm probably saying that wrong, and the Cave Aged Gruyere, which is pretty much a traditional cheese that you would use in a French onion soup. And then I'm using La Baguetterie, a white baguette, which I get them right from Winn-Dixie. They're so cute. I use them whenever I need to have some kind of little toasty little nugget, or if I want to have a quick little sandwich, I'll cut this in half and, you know, do like an open face sandwich. And these are really, really cute, and they're not that expensive. And I'm going to cut these into like 1/4-inch slices, this baguette here. And then I'm going to put those aside and get those ready for the toaster with a little butter. And then we're going to put the cheese on top. And then we'll put that on top of the soup, baby. It's going to be so delicious. So I'm just going to put in a little 1 cup of red wine. I'm just using a little Cabernet Sauvignon, just a little cheap one that I found at the store for like $9. And I'm going to mix this in as my onions have already been caramelized as much as I'm going to, because baby, it was taking longer than 25 minutes. So we're going to cook this in. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour into this in a minute to give it a little bit of a soupy consistency. But we're going to let this cook out, sprinkle a little flour in it, and then we're going to add our broth. Looking pretty good. Okay, we got a really good color on our onions and wine. I'm gonna put in 3 tablespoons, heaping tablespoons of flour. Sprinkle that over it. And then we're gonna stir this in because we wanna make this kind of like a little onion roux, I guess. And then we're gonna add our beef broth, and then we're gonna be ready to go. Now let this cook for a minute. Okay, now we're going to, once the flour has kind of been cooked off a little bit, we're gonna go ahead and add a quart of beef broth. Okay, now I'm just using plain Swanson. If you make your own, it's even better. And actually, you can add more than a quart because I added way more onions than I should have, you know, because I like the onions. And I'm gonna add another quart of this in there. And then I'm bringing this to a boil, and then I'm gonna let it cook for about 10-15 minutes. And then we're ready to do our croutons and plate everything up. Oh yeah. Okay, so this soup is pretty much ready to go down to a low fire and simmer for a few minutes. And as that does simmer, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on my little croutons. All I've done is kind of cut them in little 1/2-inch pieces, slices, and I've topped them with a little melted butter. I'm gonna top them with the cheeses that we have, that Swiss and the Gruyere, and then I'm gonna run it under the broiler, and then I'm gonna plate it all up. Okay, so these are topped with the cheese, the Swiss and the Gruyere, and I'm about to put them in the broiler, in the oven under the broiler. So the next time you see me, I will have a nice bowl plated up and ready to go. It is a good French onion soup. I actually am packing it up to take it to some friends. And then I have some leftovers for myself and some extra cheese bread that I'm going to eat. That's mine. I've already started eating it. It's delicious. Try it. I mean, it does take a long time to do. So, yeah, if you can, you've got the time and you feel like doing it, go ahead and make you some nice hot onion soup, French onion soup, and have it with a nice glass of wine, a red. It'll be really good right about now. Enjoy.